Hey, welcome today to our program. I'm so excited you're joining with us. I'm Mike Sherbino and Ashley
I am
Sherbino.
Ashley.
Yeah, we knew that. We knew your name. It was Ashley. We're talking today about faith. Actually, I've called the series that we're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks Crazy Faith, because sometimes when you think about the word faith, what comes to mind are people doing outlandish things. Why do they do that? But we're going to see that it's more than just that. It's all about who we trust in. Ashley, give me your best thoughts on faith today.
Well, I was actually just thinking, as I travel for my job and I'm in different parts of the world, it's always interesting to talk to people about their faith. What do they believe in? Sometimes people will say they have no faith at all. Sometimes they'll say your problem is you don't have enough faith. Even in North America, the whole talk around spirituality and faith is emerging, and it's a huge topic.
It's a huge topic, but sometimes people just want to ignore it as well because it kind of strikes too close to home. And if that's where you're at today, I want to encourage you just to hang with us, because we're going to talk about faith in a variety of ways. It's what I believe you need to hear today. And you're also going to hear a kind of a wonky, crazy story of faith about some people who said, we're going to make a difference. Tell us about it, Ashley.
Yeah, we have a great guest on our show today, Grant Saip. He's the executive director of One Life, One Chance Ministries. And so he's going to share his thoughts on faith and also tell us more about the work that they're doing.
So we're going to be talking about faith today. Stay tuned as we unpack this amazing subject.
We're so glad you've joined us here at Find the Way. And it's hard to believe, but we're actually on month 3.
I know, totally exciting. It's just been flying by. And we got some neat resources, Ashley.
Well, we have some new ones now. We also just want to remind people of some of the things in the past. So not too long ago, I did a great interview with Vi Neufeld, and she has this book, and it's on conflict resolution. And so just wanted to encourage you to access this at our website.
And you know, along with Vi's book, there's one by Cam Taylor, and some of you have seen this. It's called Detour. Cam went through an excruciating accident and a long recovery, 7,000 hours in a reclining chair. He talks to people about how to recover, Ashley, when you go through that difficult journey. Plus, there's 6 teaching videos that are a huge help to so many people.
The other one is Nate, who did a great piece on screen time, something that I'd really encourage parents to check out. You can also find that online at findtheway.tv.
And the last thing that you want to be checking out today is Kalita's story, as she talks about the hashtag #MeToo journey. And now we've created 6 teaching videos to help people recover from sexual and physical abuse. Go to the website, check it out today. Hey, I want to talk to you today about something that is so important in life. It's more important than a retirement plan. It's more important than your dream holiday, maybe that job that you've always fantasized about. It could be more important than even your dream date, if that's where you're at in the journey. What on earth am I talking about? The subject matter for today and for the next several weeks is the whole subject of faith. Because who you have your faith in, what you're putting your trust in, is central and integral to the well-being of your life. I want to encourage you to think about what faith means in your life. Do you believe in faith? Do you have faith? In the New Testament, there's stories of Jesus when he talked to his disciples. And the one guy that seems to just jump out of the picture for me, actually jump out of the boat, is the guy Peter. Remember, he was the one that said when he saw Jesus walking on the water, he said, "Lord, if it's you, bid me to come." And he stepped out of the boat. And that was so cool. Someone once said, if you want to walk on water, you have to step out of the boat. But if you also want to walk on water, you have to have faith. How interesting that with Peter, even though he took these outlandish steps of faith, that just before Jesus went to the cross, Jesus said these words about Peter, and they're found in Luke chapter 22. He said, Peter, and he called him at that point by his original name, Simon, Simon. It says that Satan has asked to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. Why did Jesus pray for Peter? He prayed for him because Peter needed his prayers, but also he prayed specifically that his faith would not fail. You see, we're going to be unpacking in the weeks to come, and including today, the importance of faith in our spiritual journey. All of us have to come to grips with who it is that we're trusting in, who is the one that we're resting in. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not sure if I have a lot of faith. I'm not sure if I even have the right faith. If we look to the book of Matthew chapter 17, Jesus was again teaching the people all around him. And he said, if you have faith as of a mustard seed. Now, how big is a mustard seed? Well, if you imagine the end of a pencil, maybe that little piece of lead at the end, it's pretty small. But Jesus said, if you have faith like a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be removed from here, and it will happen. Isn't that kind of outlandish? Did Jesus really mean what he was talking about? Well, we come again, and as Jesus was teaching on that, the disciples had come to him, and in the first situation, they had said to him, Lord, will you increase our faith? That's in Luke 17, verse 5. And that's when Jesus said, if you have faith just as a mustard seed. See, the disciples were just like you and me. They were thinking, God, I need more faith. I need more faith. But the truth is, we don't need more faith. The Lord has given us all that we need for today. It's not that we need more faith, but we need to realize we just need to have some faith. And the important thing to remember is who our some faith is in. And it needs to be someone no other than the Lord Jesus Christ. You see, it's faith that stands on God's promises that can change your life. In a few moments, I'm going to be teaching about a woman who had an illness that incapacitated her for 12 years, and she encounters Jesus. She is healed by her faith. Likely here today, as you're watching me, there are many of you that are struggling with the whole subject of faith. And this word is for you today. I want to remind you of the promise in Mark 9, verse 23, where Jesus said, everything is possible for him who believes. And in Mark 10, verse 20, he said, all things are possible for God. So how do we obtain mustard-sized faith? Well, we need to realize that God has already given it to us. As we trust in him, as we believe in him for all that we need, he is more than enough. He has planted that mustard-sized faith in your heart today. I want to encourage you to draw on it. We're going to unpack it throughout this program as we begin to hear the stories of people who had what you might call crazy faith. They stepped out, they did outlandish things because God had placed something in their heart, and they said, I'm going to believe that God can do something even though everyone else says it is totally impossible.
Hi, I'm Mike Sherbino. I'm the host of Find the Way, and so glad that you're watching with us today. Find the Way started as a radio program a few years ago, and now we've morphed into a television program. We're delighted to be in your home and sharing with you what I believe are the important truths that will help you in the journey of life. And that important truth centers around the person and work of Jesus Christ. Find the Way is all about helping people to find and follow Jesus. But hey, I'm Canadian. And being Canadian means that not only do I love coffee, Tim Hortons, not only do I like to play hockey, but I also realize that my fellow Canadians have a lot of questions, and we're a very private group of people. That's why Find the Way helps to unpack the spiritual issues that people are dealing with and point them in a direction that will bring them life and wholeness and meaning. I hope that you'll help me in this journey. If you want to support what we're doing, you can go to findtheway.tv and be one of our partners with us. But thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of what we're doing.
So we're talking about faith, and Mike, I appreciate your initial comments on faith like a mustard seed. But I have a little bit of distress around this topic as well.
Well, a lot of people do, so share your distress.
Well, the thing is, if we're talking about only needing a little bit of faith, I believe a lot of people would ask the question then, if you just need a little bit of faith, if I just believe, why doesn't God actually answer then when I ask for something?
Well, it's a good question, because oftentimes we want God to be like the vending machine God. when I need him, show up and turn up. But actually, the reality is God is there. He is much closer than we could ever imagine or expect. The psalmist would actually write, God is my refuge and strength, a very present help in time of trouble. I love how one guy paraphrased that and said, God is my refuge and strength, a very present help just in the nick of time. But here's the question, is my faith in what I can do, what I can muster up, or is it in the Lord Jesus? Because here is the issue, Ashley. When I put my faith in Jesus, then I have to choose that I'm going to trust him to work things out in his time. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm just wondering then, how would you respond to if God's not answering someone's request? Is that a matter of faith, in fact?
I don't think that's a matter of their faith. It's more a matter of them trusting God in the midst of it. Because we need to think about who is the object of our faith. And if I put my faith in the doctor, I will get what the doctor can give me for my problem. But when I put my faith in the Lord Jesus, I will get what he can give me. And we're going to see that in a few moments as I unpack the next part of the teaching on the woman who was sick for over 12 years. God hadn't left her, even though it was a distressing time. He hasn't left you, he hasn't left me, and he hasn't left you. So as we continue on in this whole subject called crazy faith, what we now are going to do is unpack some of the stories when Jesus encountered individuals. Remember, he had spoken to his disciples about the importance of mustard-size seed faith. And what does that look like if you have faith like of a mustard seed? It seems so small. Well, one day in the Gospel of Mark chapter 5, Mark tells the story that Jesus had crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake. And there was a large crowd there, and one of the synagogue rulers, interesting to note, it was a synagogue ruler, a religious person named Jairus, he came to Jesus and he fell at his feet. You know why he fell at his feet? Because he said, my little daughter is dying. That's a painful statement in and of itself. Having 5 daughters of my own, I'm so thankful I've not had to walk that road, at least as yet, and I trust that it won't happen. But Jairus says, my daughter is dying, and he says to Jesus, will you help me? He says, come and put your hands on her so that she'll be healed and live. So Jesus went with him. But in the midst of the journey, as they're traveling to Jairus' house so Jesus can pray and heal his daughter, there's another woman that comes along. It says there was a large crowd that followed and passed around him. And there was a woman there who'd been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered so much under the care of many doctors. She had spent everything that she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. And then there's this signature statement. When she heard about Jesus, she came up beside him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. So let's unpack that for a moment as we think about crazy faith. Here's a religious leader named Jairus, and his daughter is dying. But he comes to Jesus. Why didn't he have enough faith in his religion, in his faith? Perhaps he realizes that he needed outside help, because it's not faith in yourself that will change things. It's when you have faith in the living God. It doesn't have to be a lot of faith. Jesus had just a little faith the size of a mustard seed, and you can move mountains. But in the middle of that story, as Jairus is full of hope because Jesus is going to his house, the crowd is all around, and there's another lady with a huge problem. Maybe that problem is you. Maybe you can identify with this lady. What we do know is that she had a flow of blood. In the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament, it said that if any person had a flow of blood, and in particular a woman that hadn't stopped within 7 days, she would be an outcast outside of the city. She would have to separate herself from family and friends until all was well. We're told that this woman was sick for 12 years. So just think with me for a moment what she was going through. Not only was she physically sick, she was probably anemic from the loss of blood, but she was also feeling huge alienation. She couldn't be with family or friends because if someone touched her who was inside of the community that was well, they would also have to go outside the city for 7 days for a purification rite. part of the Jewish custom. So here we find a lady who is broke, she was emotionally spent, incredibly fatigued, but she had a plan. It says she heard about Jesus. Maybe you're hearing about Jesus for the first time today. And as you hear about him, I want to encourage you to respond to that mustard size seed of faith that God has put within you right now, to believe that God can meet you in your need, just like he met this woman. And she decides she's going to take a risk. She's going to go against the public ideology of what was right and appropriate. And she says, if I could just touch the hem of his cloak, then I will be healed. It's amazing. I'm just going to reach out. That's that mustard size seed faith. I'm just going to reach out if I can just touch him. Because she suddenly was filled with new hope. And when we have faith in the living God, hope springs eternal. Maybe it's hope for a situation that you're in, maybe it's your sickness, maybe it's a son, maybe it's a daughter, and you're hoping, you're saying, can God meet me at my place of need? I'm going to come back in a couple moments and I'm going to wrap up the teaching as we see what this woman went through, but I want you to know today that your situation is not beyond the grasp of God. And he's putting in your heart today faith to trust him, to believe him, that he can do the miraculous. And God wants to give you that miracle today. Stay with us. We're going to be right back in a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Mike Sherbino with Find the Way. A couple years ago, a station manager for one of Vancouver's largest radio stations spoke to me on the phone. He said to me, Mike, he said, I picture the guy driving home in his BMW from work, wondering, what is my purpose? What's my reason for living? He said to me, Mike, you have the answers. And it was out of that conversation that Find the Way began as a radio program and now as a TV program. I hope you'll check us out at findtheway.tv and learn more.
Mike, you've been talking a lot about mustard seed faith, and I have the simple question of how do you actually get it?
Ashley, I'm glad you asked that question because the answer is very simple. You just need to simply ask God. All throughout the scriptures, we have references where we are told, we have not because we ask not. So Jesus invites us to ask him for what we need and to ask him for faith.
And that's pretty encouraging because a lot of times I think we think it's much bigger than that, but you're just saying it starts with just the request.
That's right. And then there's the next part, because as you ask God for faith, you need to respond to the nudge of his Spirit. Respond to how he's pushing you to step out of your comfort zone. And we're going to be back in just a moment. Ashley, you're going to interview Grant Saip, who's going to be talking about people who stepped out of their comfort zone and have made a difference with this crazy faith. Hey, you've heard the tagline, the opportunity of a lifetime. We want to tell you about one of those right now. I'm here with Grant Saip, Executive Director of One Life, One Chance, and I'm going to add in one huge opportunity. Tell me.
Exactly, Mike. We want everyone to have the opportunity to come down to the Baja Peninsula of Mexico with us, with a team, build a house for a needy family, and build relationships with the people down there. It'll change your life. It'll transform your thinking of how you build community
so
back
you're
here
saying
at home.
I can bring my friends, business colleagues, people
Absolutely.
like that?
Bring them all. Come one, come all.
Bring a bit of money. I understand for about $6,000, $7,000 you can impact a family. Come for a week. How do we find out information, Grant? I'm going to tell you how. If you click on the link at the bottom of our page today, right now on the screen, we'll get you in touch with Grant right away. One life, one chance, your opportunity.
I'm here with Grant Saip, Executive Director for One Life, One Chance Ministries. Hi, Grant.
Hi, Ashley. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. I just want to reference something that Mike just said. He was talking about Jesus always having time for people. Tell us about the people that you're working with and the ministry that you're doing.
Well, One Life, One Chance Ministries works with the people of the San Quintin Valley in the Baja California state of Mexico. And it's an all but forgotten part of that country. And we're working with churches, leaders, families in those communities to just really help them deal with issues of poverty.
So what do you think makes you unique compared to other organizations?
Well, I think it all started over 10 years ago. Rob and Brenda Wall from Chilliwack actually had a missional experience that they wanted to share with others. And it was really about building relationships with the local Indigenous people, walking alongside of them, giving them tools and resources to help them just create a better life for themselves.
So you're actually looking, I really appreciate this, to resource the people that are on the ground there.
Yes, you know, for any development to be sustainable, it has to happen from within. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to empower the local people.
So what's something you've learned about the local people since visiting and spending time with them?
Well, the one thing we've learned is that they're people. And just like you and I, they want to have relationships. And I think more than anything, that's what really stands out. It's just the bond that has been developed through our partners in Canada, and many churches here in Canada and small businesses that have partnered with us have been going down to this valley for 10 years now. And so you can imagine the type of relationships that are built with the people, and there's trust and genuine love for one another.
Okay, some of them have been going for 10 years. Talk to us about the change that you've seen. You even mentioned before about building sustainable communities. So how have you seen that happen and grow?
Well, and that's a good question. What we've really excited about is just seeing leaders, churches, pastors down in the valley just really step up and start caring for the people themselves, planning things, infrastructure within the community. Churches are growing. People are coming to know Christ, and their faith is growing. Their faith in that there is a better way for themselves.
So we're doing this whole journey of faith, and we're talking about crazy faith in particular. Talk to us about the faith of the people here, and then can you relate it to the faith of the people you're working with?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The ministry began with Rob and Brenda Wall, as I mentioned, and they called a meeting of people to their home, out on the deck in the backyard, and said, we got this idea to form this ministry, just a random meeting.
Wow.
And everybody invited showed up. Well, now we're going to do with this. So they stepped out in faith to begin this ministry, to go down and work with the people of the San Quintin Valley. And you know, many times when we do trips like this and join a team, you know, I think down deep inside of all of us, somewhere in our DNA, as human beings, we're wired to do something good for someone else, to maybe serve someone else, not necessarily for ourselves, but for someone.
Everyone has that desire. Even in a recent survey with college students, the thing they wanted most was to have a fulfilling career where they're doing something meaningful, right?
Yeah.
They have that desire for something more.
And sometimes to do that, we have to step out of our comfort zone and maybe do something a little radical, have some crazy faith, and say, I'll sign up for an experience like this, for a trip. And we think we're going down to help and to serve and maybe even to save someone, but we find out that that experience really changes us and transforms us at this end. And you know, we see that in the people down there and the relationships that they build, that as we continue to come back to the valley year after year after year, that it is genuine love that we have for them and a desire to build community.
In some of the work that I do, I take people around the world to see different projects. And it's often that realization when you get there, oh, I thought I was coming to contribute something, but really my faith is the one that's being impacted, and this is what's being changed. And when people come back, what do you notice about some of those specific changes in their faith? Because a lot of times people will even say, isn't it a waste of money for me to go and to be a part of this? Should I just send? So what do you see?
And a great question. You know, I've always believed that we all have networks outside of our church, outside of our work, outside of our family. And these stories would not get shared with anyone if we didn't do these trips. And that's why I think the trip is important. It changes you and it allows you to go out and tell your story. Everybody's got a story. And it's an opportunity to share that story with others and bring others into the realization that there are opportunities, like with One Life, One Chance, to go and have an experience like this.
Just so our viewers understand, how are the teams being sent out and the work being done?
We have teams that go down and they go down specifically to build a home for a needy family that the churches down in the valley have identified as needing a home. And so we go down and build a home just to give them a hand up, a little bit of a head start in improving their lifestyle. And you can come and join a team that's currently engaged and sign up to come. You can form your own team, get some friends, get some co-workers, get people from your church. Go to our site at onelifeonechance.ca, and there's all kinds of information there on how you can sign up and join a team.
Now, the people on the ground, are they encouraged by those that come to help?
So much so. They understand where we're coming from, and I think they even have an understanding of the kind of lifestyle that we have and what's available to us here in Canada and North America. And so they know that there is a sacrifice for us to take time away from our jobs, from our family, to come down and spend time building relationship with them.
Right.
And that means an awful lot to them.
You use a term, mutual transformation.
Yes.
I love it. Tell us what that means.
Well, again, often we think we're going down there to change someone's life and make a better way for someone else. And really, it does so much in our own lives that it changes us. And so it's a win-win situation, and thus the mutual transformation.
Thank you. I'm with Grant Saip here, Executive Director of One Life, One Chance Ministries. Give us that website one more time.
It's just simply onelifeonechance.ca.
Thanks so much for joining us. And we're going to be back in just a moment, and Mike's going to share some more thoughts on crazy faith. Thanks to our viewers for joining us as we go through this series called Crazy Faith. And one of the ways that we want to help you in your faith journey is by providing you with some awesome resources. So go to our website, and again, there's this book on conflict that Vi Neufeld has written, and you can order it, or you can also have the free audio version. And with that, Cam, who was another guest on a previous show, has written a book called Detour, and this talks about the road to recovery, just some great tools for you.
You know, Ashley, those are incredible resources. There's lots of other resources. Let me highlight just one. You remember Cleta, who was on our program talking about #MeToo, her road to recovery. We are now prepared to offer to you her 6 videos on how to recover from sexual abuse and physical abuse. We're so glad you've been watching us today. We hope you take advantage of those offers. We look forward to seeing you next week on findtheway.tv.